I think AI, is going to be like a huge wave.
Audrey, I think back in 2023, if you
Yes.
remember.
Yeah.
And at that time, like Audrey was working for a VC firm. And then later she joined like startup and then acquired, and now she's like holding multiple hats. So welcome, Audrey. I think first of all, I would like you to give an intro.
Thank you so much for having me today. This is my first podcast, actually super excited.
The first podcast?
Yes.
Really?
Yes, and also very nervous.
My honor.
Yeah, so I studied math in UCLA, and then I did a Master of Financial Engineering, also from UCLA. And then right after that, actually even before I graduated, I started my career as a VC. People found it pretty uncommon because usually financial engineering, you kind of go into quant.
Yep.
But for me at that time, it was like a great opportunity, and VC is so fun. You get to see all different startups, all meeting all the smart people in the market, and they're building things that are very new.
Have you done any research or a lot of research before you decided to go to VC, or have you been like intern at a VC before you feel, oh, I want to do this after I graduate?
Actually, no. So I worked at a real estate private equity before, which is basically completely different from a VC.
True.
And before that, all my intern background was around quant research and also data science, and I've also done some complex security evaluation. So it was all like around the quant stuff. But at that time, to be honest, my thinking was I want to be in the tech, and also competing with physics PhDs in quant is very hard. So I don't believe there is an edge for me to become the top 0.001% in the industry, but I think VC venture, you might have a shot, right? So that's basically like a very simple thinking. I moved to the Bay Area right after graduating my grad school, and
Which year was it?
that was end of 2022.
2022.
Yeah, so I moved in January 2023. Started my VC career, and I was there for 1.5 years. Learned a lot, really, just like learn. It's just full learning. I'm like a generalist. I look at everything. I chatted with the founder in the beginning in the Bay. I literally have zero experience, and I have never even worked in a big tech company. And you go in, you chat with those enterprise SaaS startup.
Right.
You don't even know what does procurement mean. Like you sort of. And at that time, there's no ChatGPT.
True. So when you started, so you started in
2023,
early 2023.
Yeah.
That's before the GPT 3.5, I guess.
Well, it was definitely before the ChatGPT
moment
came out. Right. 3.5, I think it was in October 2023. Yeah. So yeah, it was still before that. So yeah, I was a VC and did a lot of memo and research for the
with
fund.
No AI support.
With no AI.
Fully handwritten.
Yes. So learned a bunch of stuff, and then it was the GPT moment came out, and I'm like, I think AI, is going to be like a huge wave, and I think that's where the opportunities will be in the future. So I also at that time I want to learn how exactly the startup actually work. I don't feel like I'm in the position to judge whether I will put in a check whether your startup will succeed or not. I just don't think I have enough experience in order to judge that. So. So it just felt natural for me to join a startup. So I left the fund and I joined Martian. They're a model router company. I don't feel like it was a great fit with the founder. They're great people. It's just I'm new grad. They're college dropouts. Like it's an all new team. So I then met Tengyu from Voyage AI. And they were doing embedding model with
or maybe let the audience know like who's Tengyu. I think of course we all know about him, but let people know like what's kind of his background.
Yeah. So Tengyu is a Stanford professor, and he started this company called Voyage AI, which we do embedding models and re-rankers to help you increase your retrieval accuracy. So for the people who are not familiar with the space, when we talk about RAG, it's a retrieval augmented generation. So the retrieval is actually powered by the embedding model and the re-ranking. Of course, the traditional full text search also counts as retrieval, but we mainly focus on the semantic search piece. So yeah, I met Tengyu at I think it was a dinner event in AGI House, Hillsborough. Yes.
Shout out to AGI House.
Yes. And I love the team. I had multiple chats with Tengyu, and I think he's just super sharp. And I love how he's so direct on everything and very efficiency first. And then I got the opportunity to work as a chief of staff at Voyage AI. At that time, I was the first non-technical hire, I would say. So I'm the only person who doesn't write code. So I basically handle everything that is non-technical, from customer support, sales calls, just all the go-to-market, even writing social posts on LinkedIn and Twitter, just turning technical pieces into like PMM material, basically. And then also I handled all the hiring and all the other operation stuff. Then very shortly after that, I think even less than 6 months, we got acquired by MongoDB.
Before we talk about the acquisition, so maybe we can talk a little bit more about your experience at Voyage AI. I think first question I want to ask is, I mean, I heard this narrative when I first came here, but I think this narrative, like nobody talks anymore, which is, can a school professor become a successful entrepreneur? So, I mean, there's like a yes and no, like people are debating this. Like, was this a concern? Or do you have this kind of question when you first met Tengyu and maybe he invited you to join his firm? Have you thought about this, like this professor background doing startup?
I mean, I think school professor is a very broad term. There can be all different kinds of people as a professor. And also, it depends on the product that they're trying to build. So Voyage AI, our embedding models and reranker, is a highly technical product. It's a model, right? So basically you need to train a model, and it's just, instead of a very large LLM, it's a couple billion parameters, smaller model, but you still need to know how to train it, use the frontier research. Our models have a mixture of experts, have...
So back then you already have MOE?
We now have MOE.
Right.
We launched it, I think, a couple of months ago, but we've been following frontier research a lot, and we use matryoshka learning in our embedding model, and just try to have different approach and following the frontier trends in order to reach like the SOTA performance for our models. So because of that, that's what we call founder product fit, I guess. So I think Tengyu, and also like in order to have this product, you definitely need to have a way to hire exceptional talents, right? This is some job that is as hard as doing research in, maybe not as hard, but at that time, our research team definitely is the S-tier research team, right? They're all able to join OpenAI, Anthropic, but they chose to believe in this vision and start to build this with Tengyu. And that was so they started in 2023. So I think that's actually more important than whether, a school professor is able to build a business. I think a more important question is, in this AI, especially now, right? Like all the frontier labs are spending even 100 million on getting the top tier researchers. How do you even get the initial group of people to build with you that are exceptional in the space? And they're able to go to easily get like, let's say, a 10 million package at the frontier labs. Why would they believe in the vision with you and start building with you?
Yeah, so it makes sense. I think right now it's like people are actually going to the talents more than like the products. So sounds like Tengyu, he has been like building or at least doing his own research on embedding model and re-ranking at school. Was it true? Or
so Tengyu is a professor in I think computer science and machine learning for sure. I don't particularly think he's just focused on the embedding model. It's just like this is a big space, and he's been following the researcher throughout the years.
Okay, but I guess he has been like at least like paying some attention to this sector before he thought about, I'm going to start a business on this.
I think also I thought about this as well before joining Voyage. Basically, the thinking is like, why embedding models, right? So Tengyu has definitely see that, he sees maybe the limitation of long context, and embedding model will always be there. We believe the retrieval layer is important, especially for enterprise, right? You need to have a way to get your own company data into the model so that you can leverage the model more efficiently. So that layer is something that, I think now is trivial. Everyone knows you kind of need to manage the context and you need to like be able to have this long-term memory and get your proprietary data. But back then, 3 years ago, I think Tengyu already identified the trend and decided that, this is an important layer, and realized that embedding model is actually one of the bottleneck in your RAG accuracy.
So speaking of your time at Voyage AI and then those experts that you guys hired, were they like kind of like ex-students of Tengyu at school, or like how they get connected with Tengyu?
Yeah, so we have a Tengyu student, also have, maybe like just referral. Tengyu also is very well connected in the space, obviously. He has other professor friends or friends that I think some of our researchers has interned before at that lab, and then, the other, let's say the professor says, this is a great talent, and then just refer that to Tengyu. So it's like a mix of definitely referral and relationship based.
Right. How was your experience at that time? Because you're immersed with like a bunch of like super technical people, super talented, smart people. Like to me, I think I can imagine that kind of experience like very unique. And I guess you're learning new stuff like every day. For example, what you're doing every day and your take back then?
Yeah, first to answer your first question, working with these exceptional talents and they're extremely smart, I love it. I really enjoy working with them and it's just so efficient. And also everyone is so competent in the sense that they're true expert in what they're working on and you pin them for something and then they just get you the answer like immediately. Like so everything is like super efficient. Right. And yes, I actually learned a lot and yeah, I'm actually very grateful for that experience. You just get things done and you're a small startup, everyone is working towards the same goal. And so they are very helpful. Like I was also even learning, I think at that time I wasn't like really familiar with, I read the transformer paper, but I just could never get the QKV and the KV cache and all that technical terms. And then the researchers would just help me. Just a lot of things like that, like what is contrastive learning, like what does it mean by like masked language model, like just all these terms and we will just discuss it during lunch and then they will just explain it to me. So it's fun working there. And my day-to-day at that time, I was handling all the customer side of the thing. So I actually handle all the customer support emails, everything range from, just billing questions or model selections. And they will ask technical questions as well, right? Like why this SDK doesn't work or, what's wrong with this script of the code, why it's not working as expected. So some questions, I don't know the answer, I just pin the engineers and then they will answer it. And the next time I will know. So I learned a lot through that process. And I also take sales calls at that time. We don't have that much outbound effort at that time. We do have some, but just not like a very systematic or like a huge volume because I was the only person doing that. But still, I have a lot of sales calls every day and just developers or people from mid-size or enterprise, they just want a point of contact. And they kind of want to learn and they want to understand what you're building and why are you different from other providers in the market. So I was doing that a lot. I think that would take, I would say maybe 30-40% of my time. Maybe not that much, but a lot of time is like you want to create a more scalable process. So you kind of like write the template, you kind of want to improve the process.
Trying to replicate, right?
Yes.
Same topic.
Exactly. So you want to create a process around it. So that's that. And then a huge chunk was spent on hiring. I was the first kind of filter for any candidates. So like range from AE to engineers, just not researchers, but engineers, because I do the behavioral interview and Timmy and I will discuss like, what kind of profile we want. And I think I'm the first person to filter these people out in some sense and by asking and designing a long list of interview questions. That takes a long time as well because not only taking interview calls, but you need to kind of fine-tune the recruiters and the way that you source candidates a bit, right? Like where do we want to poach from? Like where are the good candidates living? And it's always like different strategy for hiring.
It won't be challenging for you if you're trying to hire like an AE, right? Because they're trying to evaluate like the sales capability, etc. But I think it could be challenging for you for like adding an engineer.
Because for engineer, actually, there's technical interview. We have 2 rounds of technical interviews and, they need to do the coding and the system design.
So those are the first interview?
No, those are the interviews.
The second?
But I just need to screen whether culturally and the working mindset is a fit. But for AE, I handle the interview, like I will be in the whole process. It's about how technical do we want this AE to be. So defining the level and defining like a very detailed criteria that we're looking for. That actually took us some time.
I got a question for you. My own experience. So I've been bumping into a lot of in the Bay Area, a lot of young graduates who maybe graduate from master, undergrad, or even MBA. Most I want to explore like chief of staff role.
Reach out to me.
Yeah. So how did you like? I think if we from the other side of the angle, like what makes like Tengyu decided to, or how like did you conduct any interview with them, or how was like kind of the process for you to onboard Voyage AI at that time?
I guess you need to ask him why he.
So, or did you do any like formal interview or what?
I think there was just like interview like chatting, maybe just to see how I think, how do I think about a problem like mindset wise, and we also did a project.
Together before you formal.
Yeah, like a task. At that time, because I already have chief of staff experience at Martian.
Oh, right.
And I have some understanding of the space. I really think chief of staff is like a very serendipity based role. Like basically it's all about whether your founder, you can work with your founder, with your CEO. Like, will he trust you? Do you have the same style when approaching the problem and maybe the similar working pace and taste on things? And whether you can build trust over time. You need to save your founder time, you need to save your engineer time. You can't be creating problems for your founders, right? Let's say you keep asking founders like weird questions or you just keep hanging them. That's not helpful. I actually don't know why Tengyu chose me, but I feel like we work. I enjoy working with him a lot.
Right.
I don't know if he enjoyed.
Of course, for sure he enjoyed.
Like
it.
I can't speak for him, but I think it's a very serendipity. But at the same time, you need to prepare yourself in the sense that you need to understand the space. You need to ask the right question, so it helps yourself to onboard quickly. Right. I think when I chat with Tengyu, I know exactly what embedding model is, and I ask the right question, like, oh, why are we doing only the model layer instead of the full, let's say, RAG as a service? And basically, I was asking him, like a VC, why are you building this, and how are you planning to hire, things like that. Who are the main competitors, even before joining the firm? Just because I'm in the space, right? Like that's kind of like a little privilege because I was a VC before. There's some understanding and awareness of what's going on in the market is important.
Right.
Yeah, and then the rest is more like just
Chemistry.
Yeah, something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Things I pick up from what you're saying earlier. So in order to become a good chief of staff, or for you, in order for you to land a chief of staff role, so first of all, I think you have to have like a decent knowledge about what this company is building, their technology, their product. Second is your awareness on throughout like this market, the company trying to competing, like who are they competing with? Who are the competitor? And the third thing I think is trust. Like or call it chemistry or trust between you and the
Number one
firm.
is trust.
You think number one is trust?
I think for you to land the job, it's not trust, but for you to
Stay long enough.
yes to actually do the job well, I think trust is very, very important. Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit more about the sales motion at Voyage AI. So you mentioned sounds like there are a lot of inbound sales call. So first question, like how did those people like aware or hear you guys, and then so that they can reach out you guys?
Initial traffic is from the founder, right? So the founder has some followers on Twitter, and we've been posting about it. And I do think in this market, if you're trying to build a startup, you should try to build that. Like as a founder, because founder-led sales is how startup starts. Like it's definitely not going to be like completely cold, or you just you need to try to build these resources. In some sense, that's like part of the skill that founder needs to have. But aside from that, I think we actually also did a lot of great work. My team, they always write like great technical blogs and just to really like outlines the capabilities of the model, benchmarking against the benchmarks industry, like standard benchmarks, and comparing with the leading models. And we're always really outperforming. And so what I did a lot was turning the technical blog into a more business-oriented content, right? Like targeting different personas. We have email to any customers that emailed us, or any emails that we got. I'll include it in our email marketing tool, and then send emails to them. And then we also have LinkedIn and Twitter, just to get the message out there, to break down the technical piece into a more more comprehensive content for people to quickly get, okay, what are they doing, why they're the best. And how much it costs, something like that, right? So I think we did the blog and the marketing PMM is great. And another thing is we also do a lot of things that is extra outside from just launching the models. For example, right, there is something called AMTab. So people in the industry might know. Yeah, it's like a retrieval benchmark.
Okay.
It's open source benchmark and
For retrieval.
For retrieval, yes. It doesn't only have retrieval benchmarks, right? It has like a lot of like other tasks like classification, clustering, and different tasks. And also because it's open source, the data set is also open source, so people kind of just train on it, overfit on it, and then just to get on top of the leaderboard. So we decided to launch something, or to just research and be more focused with the founder of MTab, and we kind of launch a new thing. So that's like an initiative outside of thing. It
sounds like starting building a little bit of the community
exactly,
ecosystem.
yeah, like awareness in this community, so that people actually have a fair benchmark, and you can actually get useful information from the benchmark instead of just looking at a leaderboard and you actually try to model and the performance is really bad, right? So that's something. And also we write those blogs about evaluation method, and for example, for our code embedding models, which are targeting a lot of coding agents, we have launched how do we run evaluations, what do we think are important. So when the people look at this blog, they know, oh, we obviously understand what we're doing, and these are the things that they're looking at, so they get it. So that's like I would say the extra things that we kind of do. And there's another thing that helps us a lot is reference. So
what kind of reference?
We have shout outs from founders that post about, oh, we did the testing and Voyage AI is the best performing embedding model. Some came from connections, but some actually are organic. So they just love it, and they wrote like blogs and just shout out to us. So
On social media.
Yes, there's a Twitter, LinkedIn. That is very, very helpful. And also like we were incorporated in the docs of Anthropic, being like a recommended embedding model provider. So that's also very helpful, right? Like because if you partner, well, I wouldn't call it like an official partner, but at that time they do see we have the highest retrieval quality. So then if they recognize you this way, a lot of developers kind of trust these large providers, right? So then they look up you and then look you up and then start adopting you. So I think that's also very helpful. It's very worth exploring if you have like connections or a way to get in, because Anthropic doesn't have embedding model, but OpenAI does. So at that time we kind of just have this. It's mutually benefit to both of us.
You're talking about like a layer down, that a lot of that work that you guys have done behind what people can see, right? I think the most straightforward or simple answer is, we're just going after to the clients. We just email them, we cold reach out, we call them, or like get a referral from a third party. But I think what you're mentioning, you guys are building a kind of, maybe I use the word infrastructure, like on the foundation level, in order for you guys to execute a product that sells or a founder that sells, mix between.
Yeah, so our models are API, right? So we offer the model through API. So we're, in the beginning, it's a very PLG, product growth, and it's very developers focused. So that's why we try to have more appearance at the places that developers are hanging out, right? Like Hacker News, like docs of the other providers and like Twitter. And so that's like the PLG way. So you sort of want to have a scalable approach, right? Because you can't reach out to everyone and then ask, just ask them to use us, please. Like it doesn't work like that. For in the future, like later, we do have more enterprise way of approaching things. But I do have like something that I feel maybe is a little bit different from what people think in the industry. I don't know if events are actually that helpful for.
Have you tried many?
The thing is, what I noticed is that because especially if you're a dev tool, you're targeting developers. I think it makes a lot of sense when you already have developers and then you start to host the events and just to increase the engagement and basically have different workshops and like hackathons and they can come and build. They're already kind of familiar with you. But in the beginning, I would say like events are less efficient. Basically, if they've never heard about you, there's really not that much reason for them to join. And then if you host a hackathon, likely they will not be production customers. Well, there's definitely production ready customers. They kind of have like another job or they're building side events and they come at the hackathon. But as a startup, if you can find great partners with you, maybe it would work. But in general, I think events are just less efficient in some sense. You can't really target those developers. You just can't find them. You can't reach them. If you can reach them, then you can also reach them with a message that, they should be using this sort of model.
I think it depends on like what kind of product are you selling, because to me that Voyage AI is building very technical product, because most of the events, like the people like attending events, they're kind of like generalists. There are maybe percentage are developer, percentage are like non-engineers. So I think like for Voyage AI, you guys are doing things that fits perfectly to your product, to your community. So I think that's something. Maybe I'll encourage like every company to think about like who's your ICP, who's our user, where are they, right? Let's say they're only 10% of people are based in the Bay Area, then there's no point if you host like a ton of events here. So speaking of, another follow-up question I want to, before we jump into the enterprise side. I want to talk about like the team behind, like who's building this kind of sales infrastructure. I know you're definitely spending a lot of time on it. Sounds like Tengyu, the founder, also kind of like maybe initially, early stage, in the early period, he's leveraging his own resource. So I think the question under my question is the audience for today's podcast who are building, let's say a startup, B2B startup, like what kind of like team structure they need or what kind of like talents they need in order for them to execute a sales motion or go-to-market motion for them. So, not every company has like such amazing chief of staff as you guys, right? From your experience, what kind of are the necessary thing they need?
So shout out to Frank Liu, who's our head of applied AI at Voyage AI. So he and Wen Fan, our head of product at Voyage AI, they write the blogs and they do the highly technical things. They run the evaluation, they work with the leaderboard and everything. So they do a lot of things that are very technical, and it requires a very high standard. Like you need to be high standard. How do you say? Just need to be able to write it. Actually, this is one of the hardest thing to hire recently. Like what I realized.
Because a lot of people don't like to write it.
Exactly. Like the people who understands it, they don't want to write it. They think it's a marketing job. But marketing people, they don't really like the true like marketing people. They don't really understand the technical piece. So PMM for highly technical product, like technical writer, is very, very hard in my opinion. Like these talents, if you have them, like just hold on to them.
Just grasp.
So in the sense of like team structure, it really depends on what product you're building. Some, let's say, is more go-to-market focused, and you probably have like a head of go-to-market as a number 4 even. But if you are very technical product and you're very research driven, then maybe you have the first 50 people most of them are technical. So I would say like. And the hiring for that is always a hard question because it's very hard to find these people. They can be anywhere. They can be living in Google, like those big tech companies. They can also just have the interest of writing on the side, and then they're probably doing something else at the full-time job, or they're actually, I've seen engineer turned. So it can be all kinds of background. But initially, definitely founder is important, and you need someone on the team. Actually, everyone on the team needs to be willing to do the dirty work because there's all kinds of dirty work, writing docs, writing blogs, even like just setting up all the infrastructure, like cloud marketplaces. These are all dirty work. In general, like even just not only marketing or go-to-market, just in general, building a startup, people needs to be willing to do the dumb, dirty work, the operational heavy stuff, and just like less sexy part of the work. Like that's a very important thing.
Yeah. So sounds like it's great that you guys have kind of a very collaborative, like strong teamwork, people in the team.
Yes.
That people are willing to sacrifice or doing the so-called dirty work or tedious work or boring work. I mean, I can imagine that like asking the technical people to write a bunch of like article is not easy job. So shout out to that. Okay, cool. So let's switch gear to enterprise. So on the enterprise side, I'm not sure. Do you think you want to talk more from the Voyage AI perspective, or you want to talk about more from the MongoDB at the time after you guys joined MongoDB? Because I'm not sure whether Voyage AI has a lot of later on has a lot of enterprise.
Definitely
customers.
after the acquisition, I've seen even much deeper how enterprise works from the inside and how enterprise sales works, because MongoDB have a bunch of enterprise customers.
Let's talk about like at the time that you heard there's like a potential of acquisition from MongoDB. Like, what was like your first reaction? Or was it like, oh my God, I'm getting rich? Or
surprised that it happened so soon. Because I kind of know that we will get acquired because our team is so great. Our product is like number 1, and I kind of know even before I joined.
You saw that before you joined, right?
Yeah, I saw. Yeah. Like basically, I do expect us to simply get acquired, but I didn't expect it happened like 6 months after I joined, right? Like it was too fast. I was hoping when I joined, I will help this company scale to like Series B or C, and then we get acquired, and then I get the experience
of much higher valuation.
Yeah, it's a good acquisition now, I think, but yes, potentially. So when I hear this, I'm kind of excited because I know I will be handling a lot of things throughout the acquisition. I will be helping with the due diligence. I'll be helping with the integration after we get acquired, and yes, I'll get some money. So yeah, that was like how I felt. So basically, mostly it's like, oh, why did it happen so fast? Like I wasn't ready yet. Like we hasn't grown that much after I joined yet. So it was a good news for me for sure.
To Voyage AI right after you guys got the offer.
Yeah. So I mean, there was a period where like we were super busy, and it was like a very short closing time, and everyone was helping with the due diligence. I was mainly helping with the due diligence and stuff, and Tengyu was freaking out, and everyone was like kind of freaked out.
That's probably also his first time.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and then everyone's saying like, building a startup is basically flying an airplane while fixing it, right? So you don't want to go wrong in anything. So it was a lot of pressure. And then after we got acquired, successfully closed and announced, it was like a long period of integration, not only on the engineering part. Actually, I would say even from my perspective, I think in the beginning, I think 70% of the time is spent on the operational integration because you're stretching a startup, small startup, into a 5,000 people public company, and you kind of every aspect of the startup now needs to be handled by a larger team that has much more process, more matured process and matured way of operating. Certainly billing, legal, compliance, accounting.
A
lot of layers and support. Before, I was the only person who's handling that. We need to follow the MongoDB, the enterprise standard, if we're going to serve the enterprise customers. Okay, then there's SLAs, and there's like all different kinds of questions that enterprise customers would be asking. That's support, and then sales, right? Before the acquisition, I know what's going to be launched and what are the details. That's enough. I'm going to explain to all the customers. I'm going to write everything. But after the acquisition, okay, only a small team, a very tiny team in MongoDB knows what's going to be launched. What are the details? What are the difference between this model and that model?
Are you part of that small
Oh
group
yeah,
of people?
like us, right? We are the small team. But you need to kind of like enable the whole sales org in order to sell that, right? Not only sales org and the SA, right? The solution architect, they need to be able to explain to the customers. One of their account has question about Voyage AI. How do you let those teams quickly learn, oh, what is Voyage? How do I explain it? This is even something that we're still working on. So stretching this small startup into a large enterprise, this really takes a very, very long time. Like not just what I mentioned, sales, billing, those are like operational, but also just really like everything. Like you have to enable all the people, kind of give them contacts over and over again. Previously at MongoDB, if we want to use some product internally, use our product internally, there is a process. Okay, now I want to use Voyage AI. What do I do? For a long period of time, what do we do is they reach out to me, I invite them into our org, and then they can start using, right? So we don't have that process.
True.
A long period of time is just creating the process, making it more scalable, stretching the startup and fit it into these orgs.
That sounds very interesting experience. I mean, it's very rare experience that people can get. So maybe another question regarding acquisition. So why you guys decided to sell to MongoDB at this point? I mean, I fully understand that you're projecting, maybe you bring the company to Series B and C or selling at a higher valuation, better price. So MongoDB, like why do you guys think, okay, what's a compelling, promising part you're seeing from MongoDB?
Yeah. I'll probably just answer from the product perspective. Sure. I think the price that they acquired at kind of priced in the future growth a little bit. So it kind of makes sense just to sell it. And then, we don't have to worry about bringing like a bunch of sales team and then scale and then do enterprise sales, like which is just not in the genetics of our team anyways. So, but aside from that, I think a very obvious thing is MongoDB is a document type database. It's an operational database. It's NoSQL, and it also has vector search in the database, right? Like the vector search is attached to the database. So it feels natural because, now after the acquisition, actually you can try it now through MongoDB Alice, is like if you store your document into the database, you can directly embed it with just one click. It's called auto embedding. And underlying is a Voyage AI model powering it. And then you can immediately perform vector search on it. All the search indexes, everything is automatically created for you. So it's basically they have database, they have vector search, but they don't have anything in between to turn the documents into vector embedding. So we connect that kind of.
We're saying they have like a really literally zero in between, or they have there maybe some like a not that well performed tools internally.
So they do have like previously they were thinking you can like bring your own keys, so they support kind of like a third-party integration, but it's not native, right? So there can be glitch, and they can't control the reliability, the uptime, or if there's anything wrong, like the sale process gets messy, and like the support, you kind of need to identify, okay, which part of the workflow got wrong, that kind of issue. So I would say like you can use it. Like actually, lots of the solutions these days, like the Vector DB, they don't have an embedding model. They just open for all the models, and then you can just store your embeddings in it. But for MongoDB, there are a lot of customers, they just want to have a very smooth and convenient and easy to use product to serve our enterprise customers. And it just feels kind of natural. And then after we got acquired, I think Elastic also acquired another embedding model provider.
Right. I think maybe I want to do another like follow. I mean, MongoDB is the database provider. We're one of the largest, but there are at least like more than a handful of company out there. Maybe you can call it like Snowflake is one, or Neo4j maybe another one. The graph database. Was MongoDB the only one that approaching you guys, or you guys have some other options on hand?
I believe we do. I don't know if I can disclose.
Right.
Yeah.
But eventually you feel like Voyage AI and Mongo has the best synergy.
This is a Tengyu question, to be honest. We don't get to decide. Right. It's not like a voted decision.
So do you think he's the only one? Does he have a co-founder?
Yes.
Okay, so maybe only the few co-founders make the final decision. Got it. Okay, cool. So now you guys are fully on board. I think the team has already been stretched and in a good shape. So how does it feel like for everyday work versus right now at MongoDB versus the past day at Voyage AI?
It's very, very different. You need to align other teams. You need to get approval. You need to get look good to me from every people. Everything needs to create a ticket instead of a pin, which makes sense, right? Because you want it to be scalable. You want the knowledge to be able to transfer, right? Instead of just a single point of failure. Because previously, when Voyage was a startup, everyone is a single point of failure. If I go on PTO, no one is going to handle customer support. If that engineer go on PTO, no one is able to handle like the, I don't know, rate limit request. So basically, we don't want that in a large enterprise. So that's why everything needs to be documented, and you kind of need to, just follow certain process. I mean,
It sounds less efficient.
it is, I mean, I think it depends on how do you look at it. It is less efficient in the short term, right? Like definitely if you have this question, you just want a quick answer and then you need to create a ticket, blah, blah, blah. It's like, ooh, funnel down to get an answer. Yes, it's less efficient. But let's say if I'm going to leave the company and I need to transfer all my know-how to the next person, then that ticketing process becomes efficient because later people can look at the tickets, if they look at the documents.
How you solve the problem.
Exactly. How are you approaching the issue, right? And also it becomes more efficient when you're trying to create a policy. Let's say, we always have like rate limit inquiries from our customers. They also want higher rate limit. People are asking for like 1 billion tokens per minute. And it's really just know-how in couple individuals' brain, because I kind of know, okay, what's like the limit of our infrastructure. But in order to create a systematic way of providing rate limit increase and how to handle this request, we kind of need to look at all the previous requests and make sure like people are all aligned and they also can see what happened before. So.
Your previous team at Voyage AI, are you guys being like spread out across different, like a larger team already or put it this way, do you guys still have the chance to work together as a more closer group?
I mean, the engineering team is now part of the bigger MongoDB engineering team, and then the research team is still research team. Product team, I'm also part of the product team now. I'm a product manager in MongoDB now, under like a bigger product manager organization. So it's kind of separated, but we're all working on the core Voyage product, so we will overlap sometimes.
So switch gear to the core topic, the go-to-market.
Yes.
For MongoDB, maybe. But since you're on the product, you're not first of all, you're not on the go-to-market team, but I believe you still need to work very closely with the salesperson. So maybe walk us through that kind of the right now the structure, the strategy.
Yeah. So after the acquisition, I was on the go-to-market team for a while. I did all the initial onboarding of Voyage to MongoDB. So what does that mean? Basically, I created all the content on like customer enablement materials, sales enablement materials, from discovery questions to qualification metrics, just ICP, who you're targeting, and different metrics and priority in order to assess a customer. And also I'm the person that onboarded our Voyage specialist sales, enable them with the Voyage materials. I also onboarded our search specialist, which is basically the specialized solution architect that will be supporting Voyage inquiries. So I kind of did like an initial chunk of the go-to-market thing, and I constantly hop on enterprise sales calls to be the subject matter experts, explain them Voyage AI, why are we different? What are we offering? Sometimes it's an educational session, like they don't even know what embedding models are. Sometimes they can get to super technical where they're building like a very specific retrieval pipeline and they have very technical questions. So I've been supporting that. I'm still supporting that. It's just my title transitioned into a PM because there was some reorg in MongoDB. Nice. And I will also handle some PM things because I handled the PM when we were small Voyage. I handled the dashboard. I built the dashboard as the PM, so that's why I'm like doing a lot of the PM stuff. And also like as a PM, you need to get customer feedback. So sometimes my insights are helpful. That's why but the sales part, actually, I would say it's a very interesting process because there are a couple things that are hard. One, Voyage AI is a very different product from the core database. Now you are trying, and it's highly technical, right? It's highly technical, and it's also pretty niche just compared to database. Embedding model and even AI in large enterprises sounds very new. So how do you enable your internal AEs to be able to sell the product, right? Like how do they convey the message to their accounts, to their enterprise customer? So I think that's an art. And then the next is, how is the outbound motion? Like how do we prioritize, right? Yeah. We actually have a huge funnel from the just like the PLG self-serve channel, because we always have the self-serve, and sometimes there are people from large enterprise, the engineers, they just start testing us, and we kind of look at them and we just reach out to them, right? Like, but sometimes they just use their personal email. How do we systematically build a outreach pipeline and like in order to start a conversation, starts to build relationship and navigate the enterprise sales cycle? So that's something like I would say is hard, but it's also very interesting because MongoDB has like a lot of enterprise customer base, and you will see each team, even within the same enterprise, has very different ask, and they sometimes have like different different priorities and different things that they care about, and there's different relationship you need to build, or like you need to get through some different approvals. Really different from how sales in Voyage is compared.
So speaking of like building the let me pick the outbound reach. So you have a lot of database, you have your funnel, and do you see that anything that particularly some like features cannot be built for the startups, or it's just too complicated for a startup versus a startup company? You think, oh, maybe there's some like, wow, this like MongoDB's like outbound reach system is super amazing that startup can never compete with them. Do you see any of those like kind of systems? I think the audience are startup founders or thinking starting their own startup. So the question I'm trying to get is, how can this for the startup, how can they leverage the know-how, the system, the architect from the large enterprises internally so that they can do better on their go-to-market?
Honestly, like I feel people who's never done go-to-market feels like there are a lot of tricks. There are a lot of hacks that you do, and there are maybe like lots of ways to bypass the dirty work. But my experience, I think the very important thing is you need to do the dirty work. Like you need to have a team to reach out to the people. Even as a founder or as like the head of go-to-market, you are the person who needs to build the relationship. You're the person who needs to follow up with your customers. A new product launch, you need to send them messages, send them emails, and after a meeting, you need to try to push for the next meeting. You need to have action items. You need to continue follow up with them in order to move things forward. Like these are dirty. It's not like, I think this person kind of like me and then I will be able to land the deal. It doesn't work like that. It's like being an AE, being like, or just like a go-to-market in general, you can't avoid these work. And in some sense, like that's the essence of the job. Like you need to be willing to follow up. And I personally, I think I felt into this myself as well. Like I think between sales and product, I think I lean towards product a lot. I tend to like, on the sales calls, I tend to get into the details of like, why our models are good.
Right.
These are the features, and then you can use flexible dimensionality and quantizations, and you kind of just like, you can use this trick, and you just in order to get context and things like that, right? I get too details, and sometimes like I maybe didn't really see the broader picture of how we are actually going to land the deal. So there is a difference between that, and I think lots of technical people, they fell into that. Basically, it's not only about explaining, technically this is much better. I mean, towards enterprise, to developers maybe yes, but to enterprise customers, it's also about, your enterprise readiness, like what business value you're trying to solve. So how do you get answer to that? How do you pitch towards what they're looking at is discovering questions. When I first started enterprise sales, they asked me a question and I just started explaining my product.
Your potential client asks you a question.
Yeah, on the sales call, they asked me a question and I just explain, blah, blah. But then I learned from my AEs, I look at them and they're like, they ask a lot of questions back. Okay. So they kind of give you some information, but also at the same time, we ask you a lot of questions. Right. So you kind of know, what is the most important thing that they're looking at? Is it cost? Is it latency? Is it accuracy? Yeah. Why they're looking for this solution now? Like, are they trying to replace a current vendor or they're completely building something new? How urgent this thing is, right? In order for you to prioritize the pipeline. And then also like, who are the decision maker? Like the result of this purchase, like what does this result actually affect? Right. Does it affect the engineering lead? Or does it affect the senior engineer? Or does this affect the CTO even? Like how big this problem is in order for you to, who are the person you're trying to turn into champion or convince them, right? And willingness to pay and what does the timeline look like? So all these things, you need to get the answer from discovery questions, not just explaining your product. Enterprise deals doesn't automatically land just because your product is good. It lands because your product is good and you do the hard work. You navigate through the relationships. You find the right person. Yeah. They're the economic buyer, they're the technical buyer, they all say yes, and then you land the deal. And you need to run through the security screening, the procurement process, legal review, everything. Yeah,
thanks for sharing that. I think that's very, very helpful. I mean, everyone knows like enterprise sales is hard, right? But I think like Audrey shared kind of what you're seeing in a real life conversation with your potential customer. I mean, AE, like a good AE, they're very technical skills. They have to ask the right question and also collect the right information. But I think your role also very important because you're providing the this product technical side of the your know-how to the potential client. So sounds to me it's a very challenging teamwork thing that in order for you guys to land a enterprise customers. So different party need to get involved and different party needs to be like working as a team like smoothly in order to convince or to push the to the very end step to sign the contract. Maybe let's switch to the last gear about your like multiple hats thing that I mentioned in the beginning of the podcast. So you are also running your own fund, and at the same time working full time at MongoDB. So tell us more about like, this is like switching gear to kind of like a VC conversation. Just what kind of like the check size, the stage, what kind of things makes you excited, especially when you been in the startup side, enterprise side, and now like you check a lot of like you take a lot of things in the checklist, and then now you're back again to the investor role. Things that you see differently compared with all the way back to the beginning of your career.
I would say definitely a lot has changed. I think I can see you. Like I can, like a founder pitch me, I kind of know, if you're
lying.
Yeah. That's not true. That's not as easy as you just. The fund I started a year ago with I have two other partners, and we focus on from the first check up to Series A. Check size is super flexible, up to 1 million for each round. But we just want to back exceptional founders. Like I would say I'm not even like a very sector specific. You may feel I should be targeting dev tools, infrastructure layer, but actually nope. Partly also because like I think in an early stage product itself, it's very hard to tell. Sometimes first check, they don't even have a product yet. It's all about the person. Like I think it's the founder, the team. If he can, as I said, like get an exceptional team to work with him in the beginning. In the beginning, he has nothing. He hasn't even raised any funds. Can they get together and start building this thing? And I think conviction also is super important. I think a lot of people are, not like a lot of people, I think some founders are opportunistic, right? This thing is viral, they go build that, and then okay, from crypto to like AI agents, and then maybe to like memory layer, and then like reinforcement learning or continual learning agents, like just everything, they try to get a like step into it. But to me, I think it's really about conviction. Like you need to think through what exactly is your belief, right? Why do you want to build this? And when this company is dying, do you still have the strong belief that, okay, it will work? Does your team believe in that, right? Can you tell your vision to your team that we're going to build this? This is very important. Even if today our runway is only 3 months away, is the team still going to build with you? Are they even willing to, that's like a little bit exaggerated because today there's a lot of money in the market, but are they willing to not take salary to build with you in the beginning? Let's say if you can't raise any funds, but you just, the runway is very short, and but then you're almost there.
Maybe you don't even have a runway.
Yeah, exactly. You're bootstrapping. Like, will your team still, build with you? Will you still believe in this vision? And I think another thing that actually people has asked me, why don't I become a founder? My answer is, I just don't think I'm there yet. I think being
maybe
a founder,
one day you will.
Maybe. I think being a founder really is, you need to think about why you're the person that is doing this. Like, why can you succeed in this market? Why is this something that you and your team should be building instead of someone else?
Where's your opportunity?
Yeah, what is something that you can do that is different from others, right? I'm not talking about moat. I'm not talking about like anything like that, but about you, like your personally. It can be. So I actually just chatted with a founder earlier today. They were building like a wearable for attention and like anxiety, ADHD, that kind of wearables. And the reason he said is because the whole founding team has this issue, ADHD, and they don't want to take Adderall.
Okay.
So they're going to build this. Like I think it's a I think it's a great reason.
Yeah.
Like you experience
the story makes
issue.
sense.
Yeah. So you need to at least have this reasoning. I'm not saying you should make it up, but you should thought through and about it. And yeah.
So it makes a lot of sense. So cool. I mean, just to wrap up for today's podcast. So Audrey she has been doing a lot of things in the past. Startup, go-to-market, chief of staff, now product, and again, investor. So if there's any audience watching today's podcast who want to pick your brain, no matter like what the topic is, any topic related to what we just talked about, what's kind of the best way for them to reach out to you?
Yeah. LinkedIn would be great. Just you can email me.
Or maybe Twitter. Do you use more on Twitter?
I'm not that active on Twitter. I don't have that much followers on Twitter, but yeah, you can reach out to me. I should do that. Yeah.
Okay. Or any kind of a profile of the founders who you would like them to reach out to you.
I really want the founders who have a strong conviction on what they're building. You can tell me a reason why this is something that you are willing to devote your next 10 years of leisure time into, right? Like if you feel that, then you should reach out to me.
Cool. Well said. Thank you so much, Audrey.